say we love the alcohol, la 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 la. Just line 'em up and we will drink them all, la 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 la. Well, my mother always said, if you want to drink all day, you best start in the morning, son, 'cause that's the Irish way. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every other mother will agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every mother must agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me, and you and me, and you and me. Let there be whiskey.
Hey everybody! Welcome to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Chris,
I'm Russ.
and this is episode 190.
Yeah, 190 back in the nerd basement, our virtual nerd basement, guys. Happy quarantine. I don't know what else to say when it comes to something like that, but we are still in our ongoing quarantine situation here. It is August 11th, and there's a lot of big news going on these days.
There is.
Some big news. So we got a lot to deal with, a lot to talk about today. So I guess we should probably get into it. Chris, how was your week?
My week was all right. My leg's getting better. I'm still not.
Oh, that's good.
I'm still not like perfect. I mean, I've still got some issues. It still hurts quite a bit. But it's getting a lot better. I can walk for the most part without any issues. It's if I try and go side to side or a little bit too much forward. So if I try and bend it a little bit too much this way,
Okay.
or if I try and move my foot side to side, that's where it still tells me that I'm not quite healed. So it's been 4 weeks today that I've been in the boot. They said it would be 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to guess I've got another week or so that I'll probably have to wear the boot most of the time. I'm going to try and use it a little less, I think, over the next week. Just start getting used to not having it on again. So,
Right on.
But like if I have to do stairs a lot or anything like that, I will continue to use it. So.
Well, at least you're mobile.
Yes.
At least it's not,
But other than that, I'm on call this week, so that's always a rough week. So it's always that anticipation. Whether or not there's a call coming, it's always that anticipation that I'm going to get that text. So. Oh, and I just realized I left my beer in the fridge.
What, you got a little scotch going on there?
I'm drinking I was drinking a little whiskey beforehand, so yeah, it's a little rye whiskey.
Whiskey?
Yeah, I got a beer, but it's in the fridge, so I'll have to go grab it.
Well,
I'll have to pull
right.
Russ and leave the show to go get the.
Right. It wouldn't be the first time one of us has gotten up and had to entertain the audience here for a little bit. My week is about the same as it has been. I'm still waiting on the call to come back to work. Should be once again any day soon now. I was talking to one of my coworkers actually, and she just got brought back on Wednesday of last week, mainly because they were. Well, I mean, she's working on stuff, but she was thinking that it was mainly because one of the other coworkers has still been really distraught about the loss of our friend Hank, who passed away. So they were like, "Yeah, Sheena, why don't you come on in and you guys can work together and help each other out and whatnot." We did get some news today about my friend Hank, who was found dead last week in his or the week before last at his home. He apparently, the autopsy showed that he had undiagnosed heart disease, and he passed away in his sleep. Thankfully, it was a peaceful. He went in his sleep and it was peaceful. So there's that at least.
Yeah.
It's so we got a little bit of closure on that. It sucks, and it's still going to be rough going back to the studio and working on things that he worked on, and finishing the things that he was working on, and just walking around there, you'd see all kinds of evidence of Hank Clancy. So it's gonna be difficult. I'm actually gonna swing into the studio tomorrow, meet up with the guys and see what's going on, because we have I found out we have 3 big floats to make. One for Blue Cross Blue Shield, one for Gardner White, one for the Kellogg Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the smaller. I just finished eating the smaller Skillman Foundation float that we make every year. So we have 4 floats to make in less than 4 months now, and it's getting really pretty close down to the wire. Also, we just found out too. A news article kind of revealed how much money the CEO makes, and there's some of our artists are a little upset, myself included. When they talk about it's how much money is in the budget and how much, we only have so much money for this and we only have so much money for that. Yet the guy who runs the parade company makes a lot of money. So there's been some sour grapes lately, rightfully so. Anyway, other than that, it's just, like I said, kind of getting back to it. More of the same. Yep. Trying to draw, trying to do some video gaming, trying to get shit done around the house. I was telling Stella actually last night that she has been dealing with this. She definitely deals with this a lot better than I have. I've been struggling a little bit with anxiety and a little bit of depression and stuff like that about because of a lot of the state of the world and the state of the things we're dealing with, and political anxiety and social anxiety. Although I don't normally have social anxiety, I guess it's a lack of social anxiety. And then on things like financial anxiety and stuff like that, where Stella deals with depression and anxiety, clinically. So she's been dealing with this whole situation a lot better than I have, but she's been a lot more productive and whatnot. So can take a page from my girlfriend.
Is she getting a lot of writing done?
Yeah, well, she has finished her first draft of her novel. So she is currently in the editing stage right now, and having her friends tear her work apart. I'm not allowed to read it yet, so. But I'm sure eventually, we'll see that. But what are you drinking? Why don't you go get your beer?
I actually already got my beer. I have a wonderful wife who watches the show and heard that I had forgotten it, and she ran up and grabbed it for me. I'm actually drinking a beer that she actually got me. She went up to Frankenmuth. She actually went with her mom somewhere else, but they wound up stopping at Frankenmuth, and which for those that aren't in Michigan, it's a little town about an hour and a half north of Detroit, right up 75.
It's a tourist trap.
It's a tourist trap, yeah, but it's basically a little Bavarian village. They have like
it's a nice tourist trap.
They have a huge Christmas store there. It's like the largest in the country or something like that, and they also have a couple of competing chicken establishments that I think actually just share a kitchen, because you can actually walk underneath the street to get from one to the other. So I think they just share a kitchen underneath, and it's the same fucking chicken in both places.
It's good. It's good fried chicken,
some people prefer Bavarian Inn, some people prefer Zenders. So it's
And it's a year-round Christmas store called Bronner's, and it's pretty spectacular.
If you like Christmas,
if you like Christmas, for sure, it's pretty. It's like you walk in and you're like, wow,
it's a lot.
I've been there since I was a kid. It's like Santa Claus threw up all over the place. It's crazy.
Santa Claus, his elves, and the reindeers all threw up everywhere.
Everywhere.
But anyway, so she went up there and she actually brought home a bunch of German beers. And this is one that I've had several times in the past. And we were wondering if this was last year's, but looking at the date on the back, I'm guessing that this is actually this year's, it's a little early for it, but it is the Spaten Oktoberfest. I don't know if you can see it there, if I'm in there.
A little bit more. There you go.
Yeah, so there you go. Spaten Oktoberfest. This one actually is from Germany. It is from Munich, Germany, actually. I don't know what the ABV on it is. I don't. Oh, there it is. 5.9% ABV. It comes in a green bottle, which I don't care for because that can actually cause issues with being light struck and thereby getting skunked. That's actually the problem with a lot of the Heineken in the U.S. is that it comes in green bottles and it gets exposed to either sunlight or UV light, and it actually causes
Right.
it to skunk, which is why I've never liked Heineken until I went over to
Right.
Europe and had it in Ireland, where it is much better. Anyway, it's
Yeah, I've had skunk Heineken before too, and it's awful.
but yeah. So we got it is a brown color, a light brown. It has a decent amount of carbonation. It smells so good. Oktoberfest is one of my favorite styles. It's also called a Marzen. It's usually made. Marzen's actually, I believe, March, and it's because it's made in March, and then they actually let it sit over the summer. And it was like the last time they could brew beer before it got too hot. So
Okay.
they would brew it in March and then drink it in September, which is actually when Oktoberfest happens. August to September. But I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink here. I haven't had it yet. Mm. Oh yeah, that's good. This one is it really is one of my favorite Oktoberfest too. It it is very malty, not a lot of hops, not a lot of bitterness. It's a really easy drinking, smooth beer. Um, and yeah, I definitely think that this one, I'd give this one like 4.25 bottle caps. Um, it is truly a great representation of a Marzen, an Oktoberfest. If you can find it, like I said, this one's all over the place. They're actually, it comes from Germany, but they're distributed out of St. Louis. So I believe it's available nationwide. Um, highly, highly, highly recommend it. It truly is a great German beer, and it should be it obviously out right now. So take a look for it. It's really good. Spaten Oktoberfest, green bottle, blue checks. So
All right. Just trying to get comfortable here
yeah,
with my headset.
I noticed that. So
Yeah, I was like,
what about
all over
you?
the
What are
place.
you drinking anything tonight?
Tonight, I'm not drinking anything new. I'm just drinking a squishy from Star Cut. I've
Squishy.
had this before. It is their sweet, semi-sweet fruit cider. It's a great cider. I got a bunch of cider in the fridge. It's like I gotta,
Dude,
I don't drink
I got
every day, and so I gotta get it. I was just kind of like, I'm not gonna get anything. We were at the grocery store earlier today and spent like $180 at the grocery store, and I was just kind of like, you know what, I'll forego and getting a 6-pack or anything when I don't. I will say at Kroger they are carrying Vandy cider though now too, so that's kind of cool. For those of you guys who are into Vandy cider, we have reviewed them a couple of times, and so they carry those at Kroger if you're looking for a decent cider.
that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, just Star Cut. It's like I said, I like the Star Cut. A lot of the Star Cut ciders. Squishy is a great one. Fermented with Michigan apples and cherries, and personally, I prefer like more than just cherries. Like, give me maybe some other berries mixed in there too. But this is still a really great berry cider. So
Yeah, you mentioned that you have a fridge with a bunch of cider in it. I have a fridge dedicated to beer that's full in the basement right now.
I know.
And there's a bunch of stuff in there that I haven't touched in a couple of years. I should really finish drinking all that stuff in there.
You should probably go downstairs and start drinking some of that stuff because honestly, you may have some stuff in there that probably ain't all that good anymore.
Yeah, there was some I was wondering about because I found a hop slam from Bell's that was 5 years old in there,
Ooh.
and normally an IPA doesn't age real well, but this one it's a high gravity IPA that's made with honey and stuff. So I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a try. I'll pour it. In the worst case, it tastes like crap, and I dump it. I took one sip and went, doesn't taste like hop slam, but that's really fucking good.
It's like what IPAs. If Pine Sol had alcohol.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Pine Sol made alcohol. Yeah.
Um, all right, well, cool. We should probably move on then. Spottin' and Squishy.
Yep.
I'll check it out, guys. If that is your speed. So today, particularly, we've had some big news threw down in the last 24 hours or so. But within the last couple hours, we saw finally a running mate has been named for Joe Biden
Yep.
for this year's presidential election, and that is Kamala Harris, senator from California. This is a big deal. She is the first woman. Well, not the first woman running mate. She had the second, but the first black woman to be named as a running mate as for vice president. There's a lot of people that are. I'm seeing a lot of mixed reaction on my Facebook page. There are a lot of people that are like excited about it, but then there's a lot of people that aren't because she is very much a law and order kind of Democrat. She is, I believe, a former police officer and a former federal prosecutor.
Well, she was a former a prosecutor in San Francisco.
Right.
And she was also, I believe, Attorney General of California for a long time.
Right. She apparently took a very hard line against drugs, particularly marijuana charges and things like that. So the left is some of the far left are kind of like, I'm not liking this choice here. But honestly, I've had a lot of people go, I don't like this choice. I don't really like Biden anyway, but I'm still going to vote for him because we have to get the orange overlord out of office. So, okay, hey, that's fine. But anyways, yeah, I've seen a few of my friends that were kind of like, I don't like her. Yeah, there's definitely better choices. But I'll tell you one thing, she's probably, out of all of the candidates, she's probably the one that's most qualified to be in office. So,
Well, and she's also, I believe, of Asian descent as well. I believe she is Indian descent.
Yeah, okay. That's great. Stella just yelled from the other room, Elizabeth Warren!
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, I think Elizabeth Warren would probably do a decent job as well. But, I mean,
she's
like I said,
that's the problem.
That's a problem, yeah. She's not liked. And but the problem, the biggest...
One of the issues that I have with this pick is, I mean, I don't really have an issue with the pick, but it seems like he's pandering for votes.
Yeah, that's the thing that people are also concerned about. It's like, oh, let's get the woman of color.
Yeah, how many demographics can we squeeze into one VP candidate? I think she's perfectly qualified. I think she'd do a great job. I've actually seen her grill people in, during the Kavanaugh hearings. I believe she's the one that really laid into them.
Yeah, she is.
And I've seen some of the stuff that she's done, and I actually love some of the stuff she's done. So
yeah. And there was somebody, one of my friends, that said something to the effect of like, well, the vice presidential debates are going to certainly be interesting this year.
That's one of the things. I'm like, yeah, that'll be an interesting debate.
So anyway, we felt, we try to steer clear away around from too many political things, but it just felt like, that is a big deal. We needed to
it is. We talk about things that are big deals. So
right, exactly. Also, early this morning, Russia has.
By the way, Renee said hi to Stella.
Yes, Stella. Renee says hello. She responds in kind. Russia has registered a coronavirus vaccine, but that is coming under fire because from the medical communities around the world because it did not go into stage 3 testing, which is human trials.
No, they're just going to do it. They're just going to release it, and that'll be their.
Well, they're basically releasing it during the trials, and Vladimir Putin even said that one of his daughters, she took the vaccine. She's doing fine. She is hanging on to the antibodies. I mean, the antibodies are sticking around, so that's good. I mean, it is a good sign. It's a good sign towards progress, but at the same time, I'm going to wait until we see a couple more, maybe like a third party somebody, analyze that vaccine and what. I'm not saying that necessarily Russia doesn't have scientists that could handle it. I mean, I'm sure that they have scientists, smart people in their country too, but I'd like to see something as important as a vaccine for the coronavirus. For COVID-19, I'd like to see maybe some more.
Yeah, my thing is
some more due diligence on
I don't trust Putin, so
no.
It means anything that comes out of there is suspect to me right now. So
yeah, exactly. So I was it was funny too because you never hear Donald Trump say a bad thing about Russia, but you hear him constantly say bad things about China. It's like constantly blaming China for the coronavirus and everything.
It's the China virus. That's what he keeps calling it.
It's the China virus, right? And it's it's disgusting. You gotta think that his advisors have got to be telling him, Donald or Mr. President, please stop calling it the China virus. But the thing that cracks me up the most is it's not about that situation. It's not that he's calling it the China virus. It's the fact that it's the way he pronounces China. He says it like it starts with a G. China.
Well, and then it's
that's
real close to Thailand, right?
Right. Yeah, China is very close to Thailand. Yeah. So I mean, and that was the point that Stella made. Because it sounds like he, we were joking about it. It sounds like he's very used to saying vagina. So it's
I heard.
That's why he says China.
I heard the description, and I don't even remember where it was. It may have been us talking about it, but we were talking, and when Trump gives speeches, I think it was a friend of mine on Facebook. He sounds like a person who is giving a book report that they didn't write about a book they didn't read.
Yeah, exactly. He's just making shit up. I think you were the one that said that on one of the shows once. So yeah. Okay. Well, we should move on, or we're gonna start
Trump bashing all night. So
Trump bashing all night, right? Exactly. Okay. So Russia has a vaccine. Apparently, Kamala Harris. I'm just crossing things off the list. So huge news coming out of the DC Warner Brothers DC offices.
Bad news.
Being the comic book guy that I am, I saw this, and I've seen at least two different articles, both from Bleeding Cool yesterday and from Newsarama today, about massive shakeups in the DC offices, and it's a pretty big deal.
I saw it on Gizmodo.
Yeah, they're saying that this is the biggest shakeup of DC Comics since 1978, when they had massive shakeups that completely sent everything into disarray. The DC implosion is what they called it in 1978. One of the reasons why the winter of 77 to 78 was really, really horrible, and they blamed. Apparently, DC put out a bunch of like a shit ton of new comics that year, and within 3 months canceled a lot of them because the sales were so low because people couldn't get to comic shops. Like people were snowbound for like a couple of months, and so they blamed the really shitty weather on low comic book sales. So certainly a bunch of newer comics that had been started got shit canned at that time, and they lost like a huge chunk of comics creators at the time. So now there's been a huge reorganization of it. I think what happened, my opinion, and my guesses anyway, is that DC Universe, the streaming service, didn't perform as well as they would like, and probably some of the lower sales they're seeing, plus the fact that DC Comics has broken away from Diamond Distribution, the company that's been distributing DC Comics for the last 25 years exclusively. I think Warner Brothers is putting the boot down, and they're like, okay, you know what? You guys are fucking things up. We're going to fix this. And I
think it's even more than that, though.
Yeah, I think there's probably more than that we're not even seeing. But my this article from Bleeding Cool Online, it says, earlier today, Bleeding Cool posted the news that DC Comics staffers, this is from yesterday, along with the rest of Warner Brothers, were undergoing a downsizing of staff. At the time, We were led to believe that the brunt would be felt by DC Universe, a part of an alignment of streaming services being offered as part of an alignment. But instead, it became rapidly clear that DC Comics editorial was being targeted in a major way for such changes, with everyone describing this as the DC bloodbath or new DC implosion, and on a Monday as well. The new DC implosion seems to have all but confirmed the departure of Mark Doyle, executive editor at DC Black Label. Other named repeatedly now include DC editor-in-chief Bob Harris. The editor-in-chief has been given the boot.
Mm-hmm.
Vice President of Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy, Bobby Chase. Bobby Chase and Bob Harris have been involved with the comic book industry, particularly DC, for decades. DC editor Andy Curry, DC senior story editor Brian Cunningham, and SVP Publishing Strategy and Support Services at DC, Hank Canales. The DC Collectibles will be wound up as a line of statues and toys with the rights licensed elsewhere to the likes of Mattel or Hasbro. But we're now getting a better shape as to what DC Comics will be looking like going forward, because as to whether Jim Lee remains as COO and publisher, that's chief creative or chief operating officer and publisher, I'm told that he will be transitioning out of that role with current executive editor of Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy of DC Comics, Marie Javins, and vice president and executive editor DC of Children's/Young Adults, Michelle Wells, promoted, effectively running publishing and reporting to Jim for now. So apparently, at the moment, Jim Lee is still in his position.
Yeah, that's what I read too. I was
also saying
here that editors Brian Cunningham, Mark Doyle, and Andy Curry were all let go, along with all those VPs you mentioned.
Right.
Hank Canales.
We're also talking about Eddie Choi, the executive assistant to Jim Lee. Sandy Resnick from International Publishing, Ad Sales and Custom Creative Studio, and Sarah Haskell, marketing director, are out. So basically, not only are some of these like directors are out, Jim Lee lost his fucking executive assistant. You know, he doesn't have a second. The publisher of DC Comics doesn't have an assistant.
Well, they're
now,
saying
that
was roughly 600 layoffs at Warner Media.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. That's a lot of fucking people. I mean, it's also goes to show, like, I guess, like the pandemic and the quarantine has definitely affected a lot of people, a lot of businesses. And, they're talking about how Disney's income or sales or whatever is, they posted like a $3 billion loss or something last quarter. Because, one,
their parks were closed.
Very few people. Right, the parks were closed, and even though the parks are open, there are very few people are going, to the point they're saying that Disneyland will probably be changing their hours in the upcoming months, and then the fact that nobody is going to the movies either. So any big cash cows that they would have, like Milan or the Black Widow, are on the shelf at the moment. We're still waiting.
Even New Mutants.
So we'll see. The New Mutants are still apparently on track for an August 28th theater opening. That's what they're saying. I'm still stunned about that one. But and also Bill and Ted's Face the Music, they moved up the date of their premiere for like 3 days. So instead of
actually a full week.
Instead of full week. Instead of September 2nd or 3rd or whatever it was, it's August. So at the end of the month.
I look forward to that one. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. But that, for the most part, is going to be that's going to be a VOD kind of thing. They're saying that it will be available in theaters where it's available, but right now. So we're looking at a big mess at DC Comics. They're saying that the plan for publishing to definitely continue, but to expect a greater emphasis on digital and bookstore rather than the comic shop, for now at least. They're also saying that there's this other article from today
But yeah,
This was on Newsarama. They're saying that certain like comics, like the Justice League comic books, Superman and Batman, probably will not be affected, but smaller comic, lesser, comic properties or less popular ones, less well-known ones, are going to probably may end up feeling the axe. So the Flash probably going to be okay. Wonder Woman, they're probably going to be okay. But maybe the Suicide Squad comic might get axed, or Hawkman, or Strange Tales, or some of the lesser known characters and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised we're going to see. I've already seen both Marvel and DC have been kind of condensing their production and whatnot. I was just saying at the comic shop the other day, I'd gotten caught up with Doctor Strange, and the book was really solid. It's been particularly solid for the last 4 years, and yet they just canceled it. So
they canceled Strange?
Yeah, they canceled Doctor Strange, and I wouldn't be surprised if they will bring another redo another Doctor Strange book or bring it back later. And he does have a new book called Strange Academy, where he is running a magic school. He's open to magic school essentially. So that is continuing. It's only on its second or third issue, I believe. But yeah, the actual Doctor Strange book itself has been shelved after 6 issues under the new writer and artist.
Well, not to get off track of the DC thing, because we've been going to Marvel, but one of the other things that I was reading, it says that as part of Warner Media's shifting focus to capitalize on the success of HBO Max, a vast majority of the staff working on the DC Universe streaming platform was also let go. So almost, from the way it sounds, most of the staff that's working on DC Universe, which we've been talking about, that we knew it was going away eventually. I mean, they canceled their year-long subscriptions as of June and things like that. But it seemed like it was going to be over the next year they were going to phase everything out. And
correct.
But now they're saying that they're all gone. And this article says this was something that was expected and long feared as former DC Universe streaming exclusives like Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol made their way over to HBO Max in spite of Max's continued haphazard relationship with access to Warner's backlog of DC Comics films. The other issue that people are having with this, though, is that if DC Universe goes away, that means that everyone loses access to all of those comics that are out there that they were reading digitally. Now, I've never been a fan of the way DC has been handling their comics. I think Marvel's done a great job with Marvel Unlimited. I love my Marvel Unlimited subscription. I am still reading the X-Men. I am now beyond where I collected X-Men. So I've read from the 60s all the way through the 80s, and I'm now into the 90s. And I'm loving it. DC didn't do that, though. They didn't come out with, even like the newer stuff, like the New 52 and stuff like that from a decade ago. They didn't come out and say, all right, well, here's all of the Batmans from the New 52 and here's all the Supermans from the New 52. They said, here's these 3 from the New 52 for Batman. And then we're going to skip the next 2, and then we'll give you this one, and then we'll skip the next 4, and then we give you these 3. And I hated the way that they did that. It didn't produce a continued storyline.
Well, my theory behind that is that the issues that they were leaving out might have been side stories or stories that were not.
No, because they were introducing stories. Like where I wound up stopping reading it was I was reading through some stuff, and I got to one, and I was ready to go. They were just getting into a story, and then the next one is not till 4 issues later where it picks up with a different story than the one that they left off. It's like they left with a cliffhanger and didn't let you read those ones in between. So to me, that was shit.
Yeah. I don't understand what their theory is about that or why they do that. I mean, it almost seems to me that they're hoping that people will still go and buy like the trade paperbacks or the collected editions, the whatever. And it's like, yeah, people will buy those, but I doubt that just because they don't get some random issue is they're going to run out and buy a back issue or buy the collected edition. They're just going to be frustrated. They're just going to sit there frustrated, and they're going to read something else.
That's what happened to me. I went back to reading Spider-Man and X-Men I got
I
kind
think
of
it's
got
about
tired of Spider-Man. I had to take a break from him, and so I went back to X-Men, and I'm really enjoying the X-Men storylines right now. It's all the Chris
well,
Claremont stuff, and
yeah, you're in the '80s
no,
stuff
the
right
late
now,
'80s,
so
early
that's
'90s.
late '80s, early. Yeah, there's some good stuff right there. So anyway, so we're looking at, like I said, a lot of really big shakeups out. Chief Creative Officer, Publisher Jim Lee is reportedly still in place, although there's conflicting information as to his role. Some sources indicate that he'll retain his role as publisher, while others suggest new top-level organization result in his role being effectively diminished to some degree. There's some people are saying that this started back with Dan Didio and back when he was fired and Jim had to take over. Now, the California State Employment Law, DC, is located in Burbank, California, known as WARN, W-A-R-N, Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification, requires a 60-day notice to affected employees of a plant closing or mass layoff. DC has seemingly given their affected employees 90 days. The massive organization changes come just 11 days before Warner Media's highly marketed DC-branded multimedia event, DC
And that's what I was
Fandom.
just going to bring up, was this is also just
Right.
before Fandom.
So you'd think that they would have done this maybe after Fandom, because that's a massive,
It is.
massive mistake.
It's the big black eye just before your huge online convention where you're going to do all these announcements.
Exactly. Right. I mean, they've announced things about that they're going to be showing stuff about the Snyder Cut, that they're going to be showing stuff about the new Suicide Squad.
Game.
They're going to be talking about
game.
The game and stuff for the new movie.
See, I only heard the game. That's all I've seen. I haven't heard anything about it. Because they haven't even started anything for the movie, I didn't think.
Oh, yeah, they have. Oh, yeah, they have. Just the other day that some of the cast from the movie were wishing James Gunn happy birthday, and effectively more or less hinted to what their characters are going to be playing. Idris Elba, it was suspected that Idris Elba would be playing Bronze Tiger, and in the video it was more like a Instagram, Skype call, whatever thing, and in Idris Elba's thing, his voice was deepened and slowed down, and they kind of added in like a tiger roar. So it was kind of like, and like one of the guys had polka dots on his face, and he's probably like the Spot or Polka Dot Man or whatever. There's a bunch of hints were made. John Cena is in the movie as potentially, they're guessing, as maybe the Peacemaker, who's known for using two guns, like shooting two guns at once. Boom, boom, boom. So yeah, so we're expecting to hear that. We're expecting to hear stuff about Black Adam.
There's supposed to be a bunch of big stuff on Wonder Woman 84 too.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 84.
The Snyder Cut is another one that they were going to be previewing or talking about at least.
Right.
The Justice League Snyder Cut.
I don't. Yeah. I just you mentioned that, but yeah, they. I don't understand what DC's doing. I'm kind of confused. There's, like I said,
I don't think it's DC. It's AT&T.
Yeah, I think it's Warner Brothers, AT&T ahead of. They're looking at the various things that they own and going, okay, what do we need to do to make these things more profitable? And so you got a bunch of people that don't know shit about comic books. Just looking at the bottom line.
Yeah, I read something actually that the person that they're supposedly bringing in to basically take over DC is some esports guy.
Oh God.
Well,
that could be a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Really? You got to be kidding me.
Well, it should be interesting. I mean, DC is already kind of a mess publishing-wise. My friends at the comic shop are having a tough time dealing with ordering and trying, just figuring things out. I mean, this is also on the heels of Comic-Con Online just 2 weeks ago. So, where DC was announcing a lot of different things and did a lot of announcements of upcoming projects. You've got huge things in the works right now with and things that are going on right now with death metal and some of the other, and like the Joker War and some of the other things that are coming, and then they decide to kind of drop a bomb like this. It's a bad idea. Yeah, it's pretty funny, Renee. Yeah, it's like having someone who hates Star Wars run all of Star Wars. We get
Yeah,
it.
hopefully that's going to end soon. There's lots of rumors that she's out. Her contract's up next year, and everything I'm hearing is that it will not be renewed.
So we're saying, we will bring you updates as we get them, as the internet provides. But DC is a clusterfuck catastrophe right now, and we shall see.
Watch our Facebook page, because we post a lot of stuff on there when it comes to articles and stuff like that. So.
Right, exactly. In fact, I might even I'll probably share this article from Newsarama.
I need to start doing more on Twitter, like sharing more of those articles out there too.
Correct. I was talking to another friend of mine who just was really good with social media, and I was like, "Yeah, we need to do more on social media about our podcast." And she was grilling me, and she's like, "Do you have Facebook? Do you have Instagram?" I was like, "Yeah, we got all that shit. We just got to get off our asses and do more." We need to do more, going to cons and passing out cards and say, "Hey, let's do a podcast," and stuff like that. So when we have cons,
yes, when we can have cons again, and then actually we need to get on and do stuff like we used to do at the steampunk conventions, where we go in and do panels and stuff like that, and actually get people out to our shows live and do live shows again.
I quite agree.
Be nice to
quite agree, and have more guests guests again. Speaking of, guys, stay tuned next week. Special episode next week. We got a bunch of new guests. They're going to be joining us. So, as a little tease there.
Okay. I watched Lower Decks, Star Trek Lower Decks last week. The first episode.
I did too. That's good. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, and I gotta say, that show's got potential.
I agree. Now, apparently, it's not getting it didn't get its initial episode didn't get the greatest of reviews. Apparently, Rotten Tomatoes didn't dig it.
It wasn't a great episode, but I see the potential there.
Exactly. I think that the show is going to be a slow build. I think we're going to warm up. I think people are going to warm up to it. Guys, for those of you guys who maybe aren't aware, Lower Decks is the somewhat comedic animated show that takes place about 10 years after the end of before Picard, but about 10 years after Nemesis. It is set firmly in the Next Generation universe, and it is. I thought it was great. It was humorous, featuring it's a starship. It's the Cerritos. It is a California class, kind of mid-range kind of starship. And they specifically apparently are a crew that specializes in second contact, where once they make first contact, then they send in the Cerritos to make sure that all of the paperwork signed, dot the T's and cross the I's, so to speak. So it's got some great characters. It's really some really fun stuff. And it's one of the main writers also wrote on Rick and Morty. So you get a little feel. It's got a little bit of a Rick and Morty feel, but not a lot. I compared
it to Family Guy meets Star Trek, but
I would say it's like a cousin to Family Guy and a cousin to Rick and Morty, like they're distant cousins, like second cousins. And I thought I thought it was well acted. I thought there was some really funny stuff that went on, but it was also, it had a lot of heart. I watched the after show too. Will Wheaton is doing an after show with Ready Room.
Watch that now.
Yeah, but go back and check it out. He did it from his office, and but they also did. He's not doing it for every episode. He's did it for the premiere episode, and then he's going to be back for after episode 6 for when they do. And then he's gonna interview some of the cast. And this he interviewed the creators, and then he also showed a little bit of the stuff from the Comic Con.
That's one of the things I looked up. So. It actually has 2 seasons already that are already done. Right. One's like 10 episodes and one's 6 episodes. And
but and they talk about there are things that they might explore if they get a second season. So I think it's more like it's one season, but they're let's release this and see how.
Well,
it
that's the thing. If you
flies.
look at IMDb, they've got it split into 2 seasons already. I'm like, oh, what? I'm like, what the hell? And I looked, and there actually already are 6 episodes in the next season. So yeah, it really is entertaining, and seeing all the different like the different races and stuff like that you've seen in other Star Trek shows.
Sure.
Like you've got
Yeah. Well, you got a Bajoran as their head of security.
And he's huge, and you can see the earring and the nose ridges.
Yeah, you could tell he's a warrior. Yes. He's probably like, he probably was served during the Cardassian occupation might have been a rebel or whatever, because apparently Bajorans live longer than humans do. So he was like, so there's that. You've got the medical officer is a Cation. And Cations were introduced, they're cat people, basically, that were introduced in the original animated series. And we haven't seen them in quite a long time, too. So, you've got
Ryan on there.
She's another medical officer, a science officer, medical officer. And Jerry O'Connell is the number one. He's the first officer. And it was funny. I mean, Will Wheaton even talked about it. He was like, I was talking to Jerry O'Connell just a couple of days ago about this and about how his character was so great. And Jerry O'Connell goes, well, he's no Wesley Crusher. And because for those of you guys who don't remember, Will Wheaton and Jerry O'Connell were in Stand By Me together as kids. Stand By Me. Stand By Me? Yeah. So they've known each other since they were kids.
The Body.
The Body by Stephen King. So anyway, Lower Decks. I really got a big kick out of it. I thought it was I think it does have a lot of potential, and potential for a little bit of humor that I think Star Trek really could use right now. Some more.
But that's
some
the whole
light
thing.
Stuff.
Is it's not actually about the bridge crew. It's about the crew that takes care of all the other shit on a ship.
Right. It's about the people in the lower deck. And they even said, it's like, it's not that the other show isn't happening.
Yeah.
It's just we're not seeing it. He goes, it's like there could be a show with the bridge crew, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing these guys. And so I was like, I was really tickled. I thought this was really great.
Well, I'm
looking forward to it.
I knew what the whole thing was. There wasn't a big reveal at the end about the one, the rebellion chick.
Yeah, the character, Mariner character.
Yeah, and the fact that her mother was actually the captain did not surprise.
Yeah, she's
like, ooh, no, that didn't surprise me.
Yeah,
at all.
What a big surprise. Yeah, but that was the thing, because mom just does not want her on the ship, because she's very rebellious, and she's very like, I'll do my own thing, and so she's like, I don't want to.
She's like, she goes, fuck them.
Yeah, she obviously has been. You can tell she's got some experience, and she's where she wants to be. She's like, I'm here because I want to be at this place, because I've been to other parts and whatnot. So I like that. I think
and she doesn't believe in. She believes in helping people, not necessarily bureaucratic bullshit.
Exactly. So.
But yeah, entertaining show.
Really,
it is
entertaining
a
show.
CBS All Access exclusive, though.
Right. So, I got to admit, as much as I didn't like the idea of CBS having like an exclusive app, at least they're doing it right with their exclusive stuff, as opposed to the way DC has been doing it and the mess that DC has made. Because as much as I like the exclusive stuff that's been on DC Universe, it's all over the place. So we don't know where each of the shows are going to go to. You got Stargirl going over to CW now. You got the Doom Patrol on HBO Max. You got Harley Quinn going to HBO Max. You got
Titans might wind up on HBO Max. It might be on DC Universe. You never know where it's going to go.
So my biggest complaint about the CBS app is that it's an unstable app.
It is. Although I made it through the half-hour show without it crashing, which surprised me.
It does seem to be getting a little better. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So a couple other things here. I think we're going to do a lot of quick hits. Bloodlines 2, the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has been delayed to 21. It was originally scheduled to be released in late 20 around the Christmas season. Now they're saying they want to delay it a few more months into 21. They're saying, some of the things they're fine tweaking things, fine tuning it. And COVID-19 has delayed a lot of things, including, video game production and whatnot. And so
luckily, a lot of that stuff can be done remotely. But
yes,
when we were first starting to talk about that before the show, and you mentioned it, my first reaction was, "Oh man, that sucks." And then I thought about it for a second and went, that's really not that bad. That gives me time. There's so many games coming out this year that I want to play. Moving that one back a year to next year, not the worst thing in the world. It gives me some time to get through. Because if Cyberpunk still comes out later on this year,
right?
Which I'm sorry, in my opinion, Cyberpunk has to come out this year.
Yeah,
because it was Cyberpunk 2020 originally.
Originally, right? Exactly. That would be ideal. Yeah, there's a ton of games coming out, and thankfully, a lot of video gaming can be done remotely. The problem is not everybody has a home computer that's as powerful as their workstation at the studio. So, my imagining is that there's a lot of people that have gone into their studio, wherever they work, and taken home their
a lot of people can't.
Their $3,000 workstation.
A lot of people, after watching a lot of the stuff for like the PS5 and stuff like that, people can't fit that many triangles in their house.
Exactly, it's a lot of triangles. Smart ass. So anyway, Bloodlines 2, they didn't give it an official date, but it is later on this year. So a couple of things as well. We jumped over this. I saw a little news about the Orville season 3. Now it has been delayed because of they had been working on it. It's been COVID-19 has put people at home, so it's been being delayed until later in 21. It wasn't supposed to come out until 21 anyway.
Well, it was supposed to come out at the end of this year. It was actually supposed to be
Was it at the end of this year? You're right.
It was like the week between Christmas and New Year. It was supposed to come out.
Yeah, the very end of the year. Now they're saying it's later. Now there's also some rumors that there's also some rumors that season 3 may be its last season at Hulu, mainly because Hulu is developing a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy television show, and they want to repurpose a lot of the stuff that was used for Orville for that. Now, these are all rumors because some of these things have been said, somebody shared it on the producer's Twitter feed, and the producers were like, no, that doesn't sound right. That's not right, guys. So season 3 is still a go. There's just a question as to whether there'll be a season 4. Now, the thing about it is season 4, the Orville, and it is a McFarlane kind of thing, a McFarlane production, and the fact that it was extremely well received by both critics and by the fan base, that who knows, maybe he could pick it up and move it to HBO Max or somewhere else. You never know.
Well, that would mean crossing boundaries, though, because right now it's a Fox show, so Disney owns it.
Well, yeah, but it's just a matter of selling it, basically, or somebody else. If it gets canceled at Hulu, then picked up somewhere else.
Which I personally, I just want to talk about that for a second because I love Orville. It is honestly one of my favorite shows. And I would be very sad if it only got 3 seasons. I would love to see that.
Me too. I have both seasons on DVD. It wasn't released on Blu-ray.
Huh.
I don't know why it wasn't released on Blu-ray, but I do have both seasons on DVD. I am super excited. It's one of those shows that I'm anticipating more than a lot of other shows. A lot of people it was just fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a Star Trek with a McFarlane, with McFarlane jokes in it, a little more sex, a little more kind of crazy progression. A little bit of potty humor, but it was still really great and just enough.
Yeah,
just enough.
Well, and that's the thing. It was so much better than I expected.
Right. Exactly. I think that's what it was, really. It surprised a lot of people. So a couple other things. I just saw that there's been a release date for the new Animaniacs. There is a new revival of the classic Animaniacs cartoon from the mid-'90s. And Animaniacs 2020 will be released on November 20th.
Cool.
2020. So, coming up real soon. The first half, let's see, where is it? Let me bring up the thing. The first 13 episodes of the revival are set to premiere on November 20th, 2020. The second season of 13 episodes will premiere in 21.
Where's it
So they've
premiering?
already planning 2 seasons. It's Warner Brothers Animation, so probably the Peacock.
Well, no, because Peacock's not Warner Brothers.
No, that's you're right. That's NBC.
That would be HBO Max.
Warner Brothers, that would be HBO Max. So probably HBO Max. That's my guess. It does not actually say in the Wikipedia, but if I pull up a different article, we'll be able to find it. What else about the show? Let's see. No, that's just the classic show. Well, I'll see if I can find it and post an update on that. Oh, it'll be on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it just came up. Reboot will hit Hulu in November,
Cool.
so it'll be on Hulu. Okay, great. Let's see what else. Like I said, a few quick hits here. Also, rumors about the casting of She-Hulk. Now, they were talking about a She-Hulk television show that
I've
they're
heard
developing
a
it
couple,
for
so I'm curious
Hulu.
as to what you've heard.
Yeah, they're talking about. Now they are actively in talks with Allison Brie.
Yep, that's what I heard.
To play Jennifer Walters. I think that is an excellent choice. I adore Allison Brie. I'm actually just last night started getting into Glow season 3.
Yeah, I haven't watched
which
season
is
1 yet.
Oh my God, Chris! It was really a great show. I mean, it's really, and it is. Yes, it's a dramedy about lady wrestling in the mid '80s and
I
stuff.
remember when Glow came out.
But it's not just about that. It's really about people. I mean, the first season dealt very much about how it's tough being a woman in Hollywood and coming up with good roles for women in Hollywood, particularly in the '80s. And like one of the initial things, there's a scene where she's reading reading a part for an audition, and she's reading it, this really dramatic reading of this great thing, and they look at her and they go, "Yeah, you're reading the man's lines." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she goes, "Yeah, can you try it again?" "Sure." And then her line was, "Sir, so and so, your wife's on line too," and so like she was reading for a secretary bullshit, part, so. And so a bunch of talented, awesome women that had a tough time getting work in Hollywood get together and make Glow and make a show that could spotlight their talents. And sure, there was some seriously racist tropes back then, but that's what they did. I mean, that's what they fucking did. That was what was funny back then, I guess, apparently. But the show, like I said, I just started watching season 3. Season 2, I mean, they dealt with accidentally getting pregnant and dealing with body image issues and dealing with coming out and being homosexual and different things like that. The show actually really touches on a lot of really kind of cool stuff. In the 3rd season, the show had gotten canceled, so they ended up taking it on the road as a road show, and they took it to Vegas. And so the 3rd season is them producing the show as a production in Vegas. And Gina Davis is in it. She's like the entertainment director for the casino they work in. And one of the coolest things about it that I find, and I know people kind of are like, Russ, you're just being a dirty old man, but there is a little bit of nudity here and there. And I like the fact that the nudity is very appropriate. It's not used as some kind of it's not pandering. It's not used as some sort of like, oh, I saw her titties. It makes sense, you see them take their top off when they're in the locker room, or the very first episode, one of the earliest scenes, Allison Brie is having sex and she's topless, and it makes sense. And it's you see Allison Brie's boobs, but at the same time, it was one of those things that just made sense. And they did this one scene in the 3rd episode where she and her friend is kind of bummed out and depressed about stuff, and they're in the dressing room, and so she puts on this one showgirl's headdress, and she's walking around the dressing room in the show and being silly, and then she goes, "I can't take you seriously. You look ridiculous with that ridiculous blouse on that looks like my mother threw that away in 20 years ago." So she goes like this, she just kind of goes boom, and takes it off, and now she's topless with this topless showgirl's headdress on, walking around and, with her boobs out and just trying to make her friend laugh. And I was like, that's totally realistic. That's something a friend would do, just to be goofy and silly. And it really spoke to the episode where they were dealing with body image issues, because the girls, all the ladies from the wrestling show, had their trainer have them take a dance class with a bunch of Vegas showgirls that are 6'2" and 70 pounds. So it was very much dealing with like body image issues and stuff. And the idea too, there was like these douchebag producers kind of just walked into the dressing room and like, hey, what's up, girls, and just being douchebags. And the girls were kind of like, hey, fuckers, get out of our dressing room, And it spoke to what happened back then and what was going on back then. So, like I said, I didn't mean for this to turn into a big glowing review about Glow, but it is a really great show, and they're doing one more season after this, and then they're done. Apparently, they did 4 now, and but it's really great. And I would love
to open it up for Alison Brie to move on to be She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. And that's the thing, though, too. A show like this, they probably shot Glow in a month. They probably just shot it in like a month or whatever. And that was the other thing that was kind of neat too about this one episode. There was male frontal nudity, and it was completely normal. It was like this couple, these 2 people, they got done having sex, and he kind of stood up and he's standing there naked, and I'm just like, whoa,
that's
okay.
One of the things that I've always found to be extremely unrealistic in movies and TV is when a couple's in bed together and the woman sits up and always holds the sheet over herself.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
The guy,
or she's still wearing a bra.
Or the guy gets up and automatically wraps the sheet around himself. Nobody does that shit.
Nobody does that shit. If you've been comfortable enough to get naked with a person, you're generally comfortable enough to get up and walk to the bathroom, naked or whatever, And so yeah, those are one of those things that it takes me out of the moment, and that's one of the things I like about Glow is it doesn't do things like that. It like, totally, like I said, this couple, these 2 people end up, and it's kind of a funny exchange. It's one of the more comedic exchanges, and like one of those kind of situations of misunderstanding. I don't want to spoil it too much because it's funny enough that you should just see it. But yeah, she's like naked and he's naked, and they're kind of arguing back and forth. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty funny. So I really appreciated that as well. So, but anyway, Alison Brie, I think I adore her. I think she's a great actress. I loved her ever since seeing her in Community as I'm blanking on the character's name at the moment.
I watched the first season of Community.
Yeah, she was really funny on Community. I've seen a couple of movies that she's been in. She was really been funny in some of those things. I think she's really great. And I think she'd make a really great Jennifer Walters. And now my question is how do they deal with the She-Hulk transformation? My imagining is that it'll be digital, kind of similar to what they did with Mark Ruffalo in the Avengers. So, and if that's the case, awesome, because I think they could very easily make her into that kind of She-Hulk. So,
and that's the thing. I mean,
really
She-Hulk didn't transform quite as drastically as Banner did.
Well, I'm gonna actually here on that one. She goes from being like 5'6", maybe 5. Actually, maybe even
she gets huge. Goes from being, she doesn't change as drastically physically, other than getting taller and a little bit bigger.
Once again, I will actually that on this one. Yes, initially that's true. Initially, she just got bigger, like taller. She got taller and more muscular, but not like bodybuilder. Holy shit, bodybuilder muscular. She got more fitness model muscular, And she went from being, like I said, like 5'4", like a relatively short woman, to being like 6'7", 6'8".
6'8". I thought that's
tall.
What she was.
It's about 6'7", 6'8". I think I remember her like somebody asking her how tall she was in a comic, and she said 6'7" and a smidge, something like that. And now we also She-Hulk initially started off as being the savage She-Hulk, and she was never me Hulk. It was more like she was more like just an angry person. Eventually, that changed to her being Jennifer Walters, just and just taller.
Okay.
You know, they had essentially the same attitude.
She
If
got
anything,
stuck as
if anything,
as the She-Hulk for a long
yes,
time.
she did get stuck for quite a long time. And if anything, they maybe said that She-Hulk had the attitude that she was just a little more fun-loving and a little more, you know, kind of the fun girl. And when she was Jennifer, she was a bit more serious. But in recent years, though, She-Hulk was injured pretty badly during the Civil War II by Thanos, like almost killed. And she when she recovered, her transformation was different. She became gray, and she had these like glowing green, like almost scars on her body.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people don't talk, and it's one of the things they've established in Marvel Comics of late, that if you're a Hulk, if you're a gamma radiated character, or for short, a Hulk, a lot of your transformations have a lot to do with your psychology, and because Jennifer had gone through a lot of changes personally, she'd been dealing with a lot of stuff psychologically, that her transformation changed. And more recently, in issues of the Avengers, she is not just tall and not a tall, willowy, sexy She-Hulk. Now she looks more like a massive female bodybuilder. She's still really huge and stuff, but she's really tall, but they also made her thicker and bigger, and she also, although they show her thought balloons to still be articulate, when she speaks, she's much more guttural, you know. So they also, speaking of She-Hulk, they also have just alluded to the fact that she might have been killed in this new Empire storyline. Now, they've also solicited a comic where she's the immortal She-Hulk, where somehow she comes back, or they deal with her coming back, because the Hulk also returned to life recently. But they're doing a lot with She-Hulk right now. So, and there've been some really interesting stuff. So that's been pretty cool. As a real quick note too, I'm getting caught up on Thor comic books for the last couple of years, and I'm just reading in a bunch of the stuff where Jane Foster was operating as the wielder of Mjolnir. And there's some really neat stuff. There's some really, really cool stuff. I know you were not a fan of that whole storyline, and the fact that, you know, the Odin son is back wielding Mjolnir again, so that storyline is over. But the time, that she zombie hulks, but the time that Jane was wielding the hammer was actually really, really cool. There was some really cool story stuff. I just read where she got into basically a contest with the gods from the Shi'ar. That the Sith, like Loki, kind of conned the Shi'ar gods into attacking Asgard, kidnapping Jane Foster Thor, and forcing her into a contest with them. And so they got the Shi'ar involved, and the Shi'ar saw that their gods were capricious and kind of immature, and that's some really fun stuff. Some really
looks
cool
like
stuff.
We're having some streaming problems at the moment.
Yeah, it's looking like it too. So anyway, I just want to touch on that real quick. And then I had a little an article here too, a little bit about the Avengers video game. The beta opened over the weekend. So if you pre-ordered, allowed you to play in the beta for the weekend and stuff. And so they're saying really good things. I had some friends that got into it, said it was really cool. Now you have a total of 9 characters are listed. 6 of them are launch heroes: Black Widow, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and Ms. Marvel. Hawkeye, or Clint Barton, is already known, and the other 2 are She-Hulk and Kate Bishop. Together with the Spider-Man exclusive character Spider-Man is going to be a PlayStation exclusive character, which logically wouldn't be listed in multi-platform beta. It fills out the initial roster of 10 heroes that have been developed by Crystal Dynamics, and they've promised. So She-Hulk, speaking of She-Hulk again, could be showing up fairly early as an expansion character on this game. So some Reddit users reasonably suggested that She-Hulk and Kate Bishop could be echo fighters of Hulk and Hawkeye. This seems unlikely, given a previous statement from Crystal Dynamics Studios head Scott Amos. As IGN reported in 2019, Amos said that the DLC heroes would not feel like the heroes in the base game and would have their own identities and abilities. So that'd be awesome. I mean, hopefully we're not going to see just Hawkeye reskinned as Kate Bishop or the Hulk reskinned as She-Hulk.
Yeah.
However, there are a few caveats here. Firstly, we can't confirm the validity of the files containing these character names, and we've yet to see other reports corroborating it. So it could be bullshit, but we'll see. Let's see. Okay, getting rid of that. Let me get rid of that there. Man, that DC news has really got me, my brain spinning right now. The New York Comic Con for 2020 has been canceled.
Yeah, I saw that news earlier.
Just probably wise. Now, they have announced that YomaCon, the big anime con here in Detroit, is still a go. They have not canceled. It does not go on until early November. In fact, it's the weekend after Halloween. And the criticisms so far have been, well, it's still quite a few months away, one, and two, Cobo Hall and the Renaissance Center requires them to plan on opening. They can't just cancel this early. The only thing that would stop them would be the city, basically the city or the state or the county shutting them down for health reasons. So a lot of people are like, "Hey, you should just cancel."
I don't think it's going to happen anyway.
Legally, we can't.
I don't think it's going to happen.
It probably won't. So
I think we're at least a year away from seeing conventions and stuff come back.
Well, I think we're at least 6 months away. I think we're not going to start. Because a lot of the cons are moving forward with plans, cons and festivals moving forward with plans for 21. And, hopefully, hey, if this Russian vaccine works out, who knows? Maybe Russia will have a huge influx of cash because people are going to be buying their vaccine.
So I've got something that I was going to bring up too. Some news that I saw today that Christopher Eccleston is going to return as the 9th Doctor. However, it won't be for the television show. It's going to be an audio series, which is basically what David Tennant has done, several of them as well. But yeah, it's going to be 12 stories in 4 box sets, the first of which is going to be out in May of 2021. And they're going to release them throughout the year next year. I think I actually saw one article that said August of 2021 to November, but then
February of 2020.
But then I heard May of 2021 was when the first one was coming out. So, but yeah, they don't have anything else other than that Eccleston's gonna be back. They haven't said when the stories are going to take place, whether it's going to be him by himself, him with Rose and Jack. Which that would be cool as hell. I actually might buy them if they have stories with Billy Piper and John Barrowman.
That'd be really cool.
That would actually be really cool. And they said that they could put them, because the Doctor Who stories don't necessarily go, all of them don't go one right into the next episode. There could be time in between where they could do stuff.
Yeah, they're very episodic.
Yes. But there's also we know that there's time between the War Doctor and when Eccleston meets Rose. We know that there's episodes that there's a lot of time there. So I have a feeling quite a few of them are going to be him by himself, or with other companions that we didn't see in the show.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I mean, I'm down. That's great.
I liked Eccleston. I was actually sad to see that he only got a season, but.
Oh yeah, a lot of people felt that he was, I know he was the first of the new Doctor Who's. He was like the beginning of the new Doctor Who's. But I remember a lot of people going, he just seemed really angry.
He was the angry Doctor.
Really kind of aggressive and angry. He was the angry Doctor. Yeah.
But I mean, when you look at the way the storyline that they've come up with the storyline and done the storyline for that, it kind of makes sense that he's the angry Doctor, because he's the one right after the War Doctor.
Right, exactly.
And every Doctor, that's the point too, is that every Doctor's supposed to have their own. Everyone that plays the Doctor is supposed to bring their own personality to the Doctor, and every Doctor is supposed to be different.
Right.
Tennant was the goofy Doctor, and I loved him. He was just absolutely hilarious.
I'd have to say David Tennant was probably the most popular of the more modern Doctors.
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see, I've got a little something here. The Walking Dead Season 10 return date Here's when new episodes will air. October is a big month for Walking Dead fans. It's all change on the Walking Dead Season 10 front. The original finale episode, the 16th of the current season, if you've lost count, was due to air in April, but was pulled from schedules due to concerns over post-production in the wake of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we finally have a return date for the Walking Dead Season 10. More on that below, as well as we look further ahead to 21 and what promises to be, oddly enough, an extended bumper Season 10. That means, of course, Episode 16 isn't the finale. The plot thickens. The Walking Dead Season 10 finale, when will it air? This is the easy part. The Walking Dead Season 10 return date is set for October 4th on AMC in the US and October 5th in the UK. What was previously described as the finale, and confusingly still is in some material, so expect an epic affair. Then there's a small break. The Walking Dead Season 10 will continue, presumably using the Season 11 footage they've already filmed, to roll into an extended season. Those extra episodes, of which there are 6, will air during an as-yet announced period in early 21. In regards to Season 11, Angela Kang said at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, "We're writing some stuff now, and we'll see where it all lands." October is set to be a huge month for Walking Dead verse. Not only are we getting a standalone episode to kick off the month, but Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 will premiere a week later on October 11th. So for those of you who are big Walking Dead fans, I enjoy the show, but I am so far behind. I'm just going to probably wait until they're done and maybe just binge the show.
I got so bored with the show that I stopped watching it after like the 4th season or something like that. It was just the same thing every week. I mean,
it is a heavy show, and it's hard to
it was just more of the same every week, and I just it got boring. I mean, you can only do so much with they're getting chased by zombies again. Oh, they met somebody that's not a nice person. Oh, they're getting chased by zombies again. Oh, that not nice person just backstabbed him. Oh, so one of the main characters just got killed. Oh, it was the same thing over and over. It just
yeah, I totally get you. I totally get you. But I still feel like it's something I think I kind of want to see through to the end eventually. I do have all the comic book, the collected edition comic books on the shelf over there. So it is it's a solid kind of character piece, but it does get a little tedious.
Oh, hey, we got
real
new
quick.
Follower. Yeah,
did we? That's good.
Elenriel, 1982. Thanks for the follow.
Hey, good. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I'd still love to see more of you guys tuning in for the show, but we get it. People are busy. I finished watching the Umbrella Academy season 3. Have you finished?
No,
or are you still
I've only watched the
early?
first 2 episodes so far.
Okay, I finished watching it. I'm not. I'm just going to give my initial wow. It's great. It's a great season. Season 2. It's season 2, isn't it? Yeah, it's only season 2. It's great. I think the show's genius, and I really enjoyed it. I think I'm glad that they did a great job depicting how difficult it was for people of different lifestyles in that time period in the 60s, and particularly people of color, a little bit for homosexuals. It was. They did a great job with that. So, but I really enjoyed it. We'll do more of a full spoilery kind of review maybe when you're done.
We'll give it a few weeks. I mean, it's only been out. It's only been out for a couple weeks, so.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give it a couple more weeks, and then we'll do more spoilery kind of thing. Maybe just an overarching kind of thing, as opposed, since we didn't do who's watching the.
Well, because it's not episodic. It's the Netflix. We're just going to dump it on you, and you can watch all 10 episodes in one day if you want to.
You know what? Maybe we should do that for Lower Decks.
Oh.
You want to do a new show we'll do a new review show for Lower Decks?
It won't take that long to review it because it's just a half-hour show.
because they're only half an hour shows. So. All right, so next week we'll start doing
2
that.
Weeks.
We'll do
2 weeks because next week we got guests. So.
Right. Yeah. So in 2 weeks we'll do the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of time left, but one of the things I wanted to bring up was something that's been being talked about quite a bit in a lot of the D&D community right now, and that is that someone came out with a D&D combat wheelchair for the game.
Right.
And people like Matt Mercer have tweeted about it, saying this is badass. Other people have come out and said it's a dumb idea. Why would you do this? And so there's been a lot of back and forth. I personally have some issues with the way it's designed. Do I think it's a bad idea? Not necessarily. I'm not crazy about the way that it's designed and some of the things about it, but if I understand the reasoning behind it, understand why someone would want to develop it. People want to play characters that are like themselves, and if someone is in a wheelchair and they want to play a character in a wheelchair, and you can work it into your campaign, and everyone's good with it, I got no problems with it. Um, I just don't like some of the ways that they've done some of the things in it. I understand the reasoning behind it.
I'm looking it up now to see if I can.
It's
kind
7 pages to actually read about the entire thing. So it is a long list of things that you can do, because there are, as by using it, it's an item, it's a magic item that you can get at first level. You basically can use it as a weapon. You can do various things with it. You can have add-ons to it, but every time you add something on, it actually does add to the weight of it. So if you need to carry it somewhere, it can be an issue. So yeah, there are things that they've done to try and make it so that it doesn't make someone overpowered or more powerful than one of the able heroes. So
yeah,
it's just one of the things that they have is they say that this stone that's in there that lets it float up and down stairs and things like that, so that they can still get up and down stairs. It dispel magic doesn't affect it, which to me, if it's the cantrip level spell that's mass produced, how is it that dispel magic doesn't affect it, other than that's a major difficulty for someone that has one?
Right. I think, I mean, I get the idea, and I am supportive of the idea of creating characters that maybe have a disability that they have to work around or whatnot, and having devices that help them with that. My main thing is like in a world where a magic world where you can have like spells or devices that could help you with some sort of deformity, disability, accident, whatever. Why a wheelchair? I mean, why not something that had multiple legs that walked? Why not, I think we talked before the show a little bit about it, like a floating chair and things like that. I think you're right, though. The danger of it is making it overpowered for the level of the character. I think at the very least, I think what you have to do is you would have to make it almost, it would level up with the character.
And I think it does. Well, that's the thing. One of the things that they talk about in there that I did read, because I haven't read the whole 7 pages yet, but one of the things I did see in there is that it comes with basically seat belts and gloves. That's a couple of and basically a backpack.
It's it looks like it's got storage stuff.
But one of the things that it says is if you are in the chair, it is considered a part of you. So if you were to, like, if you're a druid and you shape change, the chair shape changes with you. If you if you're affected by a spell, like a fly spell, then the chair would be affected with you.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that they're talking about here is like this article I found. It's on belloflostsouls.net, which is looks like a gaming tabletop RPG geekery website. Yeah, D&D combat wheelchair makes splash with Wizards of the Coast staff, Critical Role's DM, but not all agree. And here it goes. It goes into, when it comes to representation in any genre, but especially fantasy, disability is one of the most often overlooked approaches. From literature to movies and TV games, you might be hard-pressed to find more than a handful of characters. That seems to be changing with characters like Dragon Princess General Amaya or She-Ra and the Princess of Powers Entrapta, providing some fairly positive popular examples, joining characters like Bran Stark and Sandon Glokta, who have been rare but standout examples for now. And he goes, here's a tweet from Christopher Perkins. We're going to fix that, Wizards of the Coast staff. So one character that they bring up is Esmeralda, as an NPC that's in The Curse of Strahd. Yeah, even in D&D, it can be hard to find characters with a disability. One notable example is Esmeralda in Curse of Strahd. She is an NPC who lost a leg in a werewolf attack and has replaced it with an artificial prosthetic. So now that was something that we talked about. You and I were talking about a little bit before the show about how, I've played characters. I've had friends that have played characters that have lost limbs in the game and were unable to afford or get to or have like any kind or like have a regeneration spell cast, so they replaced the limb or whatever with a magic prosthetic or a regular prosthetic or whatever. I mean, how many pirates have you seen that have peg legs, or hooks for hands? Exactly. So I mean,
it's a big time
I get
trope.
it as a right. I get it as creating items that makes you have characters with a disability be able to still be adventurous, still be active characters, and I think it's a cool idea. I'm just wondering why a chair though, and then on top of it too, yes, it does open the door for overpoweredness. I mean, just because someone doesn't walk, if they have a device that makes the point moot, then what's the point of having the disability in the first place? At least in the gameplay. So, and then on top of it, I'm kind of like, how much sense does it really make? It's like, I could see it maybe like a wheelchair bound or not quadra, like a paraplegic mage or sorcerer or something like that. But I mean, how difficult would it be to be like a paladin on a wheelchair, or a rogue? You can't. There's just some things that, no matter how much you slice it, you're not going to have somebody in a wheelchair that's going to be able to, climb through windows and walk tightropes and stuff like that.
So
no, not all rogues do that, but a lot do. Some do. So it's like some of the things. I don't know. I mean, like honestly, okay, a paladin that's on horseback a lot. Okay, make him on a big, like, essentially the wheelchair becomes his mount.
Well, but he could also be mounted still. He could
What's that?
still be mounted. I mean,
he could still be mounted, but I mean, I think a creative DM could do some really cool stuff, but it also could also add in some really weird, difficult things too. So
yeah,
once again, I am.
If people want to,
I'm all for it, but me too. I'm all for it if people want to do it. At the same time, as a longtime D&D gamer and a DM at times and stuff, this is one of those things that is like, I could see better uses of creative energy than a wheelchair. Like, how about, like I said, how about something that they strap to, something that they strap to their legs that allows them to walk again, some leg braces or something, or a suit of armor, or like I said, or a chair that walks instead, not rolls, but has like spidery legs that goes out, and kind of similar to like the chair that the guy uses in Wild Wild West, that shitty movie that Will Smith
that
did.
Movie, dude.
I actually liked it too.
It's one of the few steampunk movies out there, and I love that movie.
It is one of the movies that is kind of lauded as a steampunk film. It just did very badly at the box office, so that's why people kind of.
I still think Selma Hayek is one of the hottest women out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So anyway,
and a really good actress too.
Of course, absolutely, of course. One last thing before we close up shop. See, these are some of the debates I'm looking at. Actually, in D&D, it does. Clerics can regenerate missing limbs for 50 gold and 1 to 2 out. What this combat wheelchair cost from? Okay, yeah, they're talking about the cost of the wheelchair. Just things. I think this concept is an interesting concept, but it needs to be retooled and it needs to be adjusted and fixed, and because it's not. It's too raw at the moment for what they're doing. So, anyway, one last thing. I played Kingdom Hearts 3, over the last like maybe 2 weeks. I've been playing that
Uh,
game. I ran through it. I think it took me about 50 hours of gameplay, right around 50 hours of gameplay exactly, to polish off the game. I gotta say, I was kind of disappointed.
oh yeah.
I remember playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and really loving it and having a great time. Kingdom Hearts 3 had so many cutscenes that I just was like, holy shit, this is for the first time in my life. I want to skip cutscenes. Um, there was a lot of very emotional, like, storytelling where it's like, a friend of mine was telling me it's very much kind of, that's where the Japanese influence comes
Mm-hmm.
in a lot in the way the storytelling is very like sweet and I like, emotional storytelling and everything, whatever. But there was some stuff that was very like almost syrupy, and I really liked going. I liked how they gumped the characters into some of the movies. Like when you went to Alan the Frozen world, it basically put your characters Goofy and Donald and Sora into Frozen, and you kind of had a shortened little kind of version of Frozen. And same thing with Tangled. So it kind of put you into Tangled, and there were a few points where I was like, "Oh, that's really funny. It's really cool stuff." When you go to the Caribbean and you're in with your adventuring with Jack and whatnot, it puts you into the end of Pirates of the Caribbean 3, or like the middle, and then kind of it gets you at the end. So, and that was some really cool stuff. Kind of like slides you into that, and you would go to Olympus, and you get to adventure with Hercules. But it seemed like there was less of that kind of element, and less of those worlds. There was also the Toy Story world. There was the Monsters Inc. Um, that was about it, really. And I did enjoy the game, but it was very quick. I mean, like I said, roughly 50 hours of gameplay. And there were a few things that I kind of didn't finish and kind of wanted to maybe I'll go back and finish it after. Like some side quest stuff and flying around in your spaceship and stuff like that I would like to do more of. And but it doesn't allow you to do that once the game's done. Now you can save your stuff from the game. You can start up a new game, I believe, with the stuff you've already earned. So you can replay through the game again with the stuff you've already earned, maybe on a more difficult level, difficulty level. But I was still kind of like, no, I'm good. And I even saw, and there's even an epilogue at the end of the game that shows you, okay, there's some more story. I honestly don't give a shit. The DLC also cost $30.
Oh.
And I was like, I think I'm going to play the game before I spend $30 on this DLC. So I did not buy the game. I did not buy the DLC. It was pretty. It was somewhat entertaining, but I'm kind of disappointed.
Yeah, I bought the whole series, and I want to play through it, but I got so many other things. And I mean, I got to get back to the Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, like I said, Chris, I think it's a fun game, and you'll probably enjoy playing through it from start to finish. But be prepared for a lot of characters, particularly from the anime aspect, and just like an almost a very convoluted storyline. You may want to take notes. There was an aspect that was kind of a cool thing I liked at the end on that it gave you like a review thing, a thing you could go in and it would allow you to review what happened. And they even actually even the characters kind of makes a wink at the camera a little bit about how many characters there were to keep track of and everything. And it's kind of so it was a fun game, but I am really very much looking forward to getting into the slew of other games that I have on my my list here. I've got the Outer Worlds. Excuse me. I've got Vampire. I've got No Man's Sky. I'd like to get back into playing Fallout 76. I've got a whole bunch of games that I'm really looking forward to. So yeah. I almost wish I had kind of backburnered Kingdom Hearts, but I just got done playing those Wolfenstein games where you're like bloody Nazi killing games and stuff. I was like, how about something lighter? I got what I paid for, So, so yeah. Did you have anything else in particular?
Nope, I think that's it for me.
I think that is a lot. I think we covered quite a bit of stuff this evening.
Yeah, I think so too.
And so guys, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks a lot. Always love having you guys out. I love doing this actually because I love the interaction. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, but I really like having interaction and people commenting. And we've got the actual. I actually was able to actually get the text up on the screen this time.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
That's and I actually did an old school gaming type of font for that. I found it's actually called Old School, which I really like because it's very 8-bit.
Yeah, it's very Zork. Very Zork. So, guys, be sure to download and listen to us, stream us on all the places you can find quality podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on iTunes, the Google Play Store. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and, of course, you can download and stream our episodes at our website at nerdswithalcoholshow.com. We are also, of course, on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock and on YouTube on Thursday.
Friday. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, we are. You can also follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter at Drinking Nerds, Instagram Drinking Nerds, which actually I'm probably going to be trying to do more on Instagram, which also goes to Twitter and stuff too. Maybe start doing some of my painting stuff. So
great,
just to get some more stuff out there rather than just the alcohol stuff that we've been doing. And some of the other stuff, but.
Yeah, guys, we are constantly thinking up new ideas, trying to come up with new content. I'm thinking about maybe doing some art stuff myself. Maybe these are both solo things between Chris and I, under the Nerds with Alcohol, banner. So like maybe me doing some art tutorial stuff.
Yeah, me doing some game streaming.
Chris some game streaming and stuff. I don't know if I want to maybe get into game streaming as well,
or something like that. Because I've been playing a lot of that MechWarrior online. I've thought about us maybe doing a quick half-hour show where we talk about current events and stuff like that and our take on them. Versus that way we can kind of, since we don't like to do that on this show, we can still do it on another medium or another.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to listen to a couple of middle-aged nerds bitch and moan about the state of the government, that'd be a show to listen to.
So that kind of thing. So we'll see. We're trying to work on other things, especially now that we're actually on a streaming service and stuff. We want to start putting some more content out. So if you have any ideas of stuff you'd like to see, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can email us at nerdswithalcoholshow.com.
Yes, exactly. Or you can contact us on our Facebook page as well.
So
all right.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it.
That should.
And on that note.
Until next time. Sláinte.
Yeah, it was okay.
Not bad.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Good night.